Hello everybody, I'm Jack from This Raw Tropical Living. Thanks for joining me today. Been back in Costa Rica close to a week now. Got back last Wednesday, so full week back into my normal routine, settling back in. And I just like to kind of evaluate things. I do a little bit of thinking. Well, I do a lot of thinking because I spend a lot of time on my own. But I kind of try to I try to always be aware of my body, aware of changes in my body, aware of changes things I'm putting into my body. So, I kind of try to just do a little introspection on this since I go to the States every 3 months and since I eat differently when I go to the States. And hey, there is no definitive answer. Is fully raw vegan necessary? I haven't come any closer to the conclusion on that. But I just thought I'd share a few thoughts with you for somebody that lives kind of both ways. Instead of doing a raw till 4 or whatever, I have my vacation periods where I do my cooked food, and then the other times I am fully raw. So I kind of have a chance to see both sides because I do explore and I do live fully raw, other than maybe the occasional nut or whatever that's beyond my control. Just let me put that as a disclaimer. So I'm sure there's a few things that sneak in even when I'm here in Costa Rica that aren't fully raw. But like I say, I'm not doing it for the label anyway. And I'll get back to the label here in a little bit. But I just can't slam the door shut, but I can't argue it. I mean, I don't know. I go back and forth. All right, when I go to the States, I eat cooked food. I try to keep it as clean as possible, but I don't eat perfectly clean when I eat the cooked food. So for me, that is one downside to the cooked. Not saying that you can't do it, and I do it on more and more of my meals, but I tend to find it personally for me in my little comfort zone of what I create and the normal things that I eat, that I tend to eat to keep it cleaner, much cleaner when I eat raw. When I eat cooked, I didn't do it as much this time, but I did use some olive oil. I don't use any oil when I'm here, just eating my normal lifestyle. I do let myself have the olive oil a little bit, and not much. Like I say, I used to just, use it the whole time. I was in the States for my 2 weeks. Now, I use it just a number of times, so I've limited that. I don't know. It's a tough comparison. Now, on the one hand, I do feel I feel at the top of my game when I'm in Costa Rica, and I don't know if that's so much because I'm eating some cooked food in the States, or just that I'm not getting the amount of good fresh tropical fruit that I'm used to. I mean, I'm eating my bananas, but I'm not getting in the amounts of orange juice. Yeah, I eat oranges up there, but I will never eat as many oranges on a regular basis as I drink orange juice daily down here, just because it's there. If I don't get the chance to squeeze it, I can always buy some fresh orange juice that's a reasonable price. So it could be partially that, just some of the things I can't get in the States versus down here. I will tell you though that I shake up the cooked food that I eat in the States. I shake it off very quickly. Like I say, I think I do that part every time, so I'm very aware of changes in my body, and even, like I didn't feel real well that day I got back down here. Well, I don't think that had anything to do with the cooked food, because I didn't eat, if anything, I ate cleaner on the cooked food on this trip than other trips, and that hasn't happened in a while. So it only takes me about a day to shake off the effects, if there are any, if they're not in my head, of having the cooked food while I'm up in visiting, every 3 months. As much as I ate, and I did eat a lot of potatoes sometime. I pounded the sweet potatoes, and then towards the last few days I did eat some a good bit of potatoes, and I'll sit down and eat 3 or 4 pounds of potatoes at a time. And even with a couple of the fatty meals that I had at my favorite little vegan restaurant, I got on the scale the last day, the last morning as I'm about to walk out. And over that whole week, I didn't remember the exact number, but I think I gained less than a pound. And I kind of felt like that was my vacation. Woohoo! I let go, and I gained, less than a pound. And I wouldn't even really been upset if I'd gained a couple of pounds. I can always take a pound where I can get them. So you know, I just wanted to stress there that the cooked food didn't wreck me. Now, that, like I say, that just leaves it, for right now, I'm still not called to make that whole, you know, I just don't feel myself led in the direction of saying, okay, now I've found out now, I'm ready to go. I'm fully raw, I'll never, I'm not going to eat cooked food, even when I go back to the States, blah, blah, blah. I just don't feel my body telling me to do that. And to do it, to say, okay, now I'm going to be fully raw would just kind of be, I won't say dishonest to myself, because it doesn't really matter. Food's food. It wouldn't hurt me to be that. But I think if I did it, I would just be doing it so I could be in with kids that are all fully raw, or be part of a group, or be able to say that label that I'm fully raw. And I don't care about doing anything just for a label. Now, having said that, you know, I have different thoughts on cooked versus raw, because, you know, I have people that fall on both sides of this topic that watch my channel, because I get comments to both ways. On the one hand, as far as the cooked food goes, I'll go back to what I've said in many of my videos. I don't think it's so important, raw versus cooked. I just think it's always about clean food. I mean, I had some very clean meals while I'm there that I just don't see how you could really refute too much. You know, like some of the really healthier meals I had that had cooked food were when I would make sweet potatoes, and I had my portions. You know, I ate more than one thing. Like a lot of times, I'm just kind of that animal. When I'm in the potato mode, I just eat potatoes. I guess that's why, if I haven't explained before, I eat such a massive amount of potatoes when I sit down, because a lot of times when I do potatoes, it's just potatoes. It's not like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But I felt my healthiest meals, and I really felt good after that. It wasn't pulled down at all, was when I would have a nice balanced plate. And a couple of times I had sweet potatoes. Probably had like 3 large sweet potatoes steamed, and then a vegetable. One time I did it with twice I did it with Brussels sprouts. Did that on Easter, for Easter dinner. And one time I did it with broccoli. And one time I did it with cabbage. So I had, you know, like sweet potato, the steamed vegetable, and then I had a big salad on the side. Now that was really rocking. That was really clean. On the sweet potatoes that time, I think I put some green onion, maybe a little bit of salt, so there was no added fat to any of that. So that would have pretty much, I may have used some fat in the dressing, might have used like half an avocado, but that's a dressing, that's a cooked meal you could do very low fat or no avert fat. And, you know, I just don't see how anybody could really fault that. I mean, yeah, you can, I mean, if you really want to get into the hardcore of all the science of the raw is law, blah, 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 but I just don't see a whole lot of damage that kind of a meal is doing to you. But yet, for some reason, I'm not led to do that when I'm down here. I could eat tubers down here. And, you know, I've kind of scoffed a little bit at the weather thing in the past. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's because it's so warm down here. I was in the supermarket yesterday and I saw yuca, and I was thinking like, oh, yuca would be good, but it just didn't call me, kind of like potatoes or whatever do in the States. So something does lead me to this fully raw thing while I'm down here in Costa Rica. And it's probably a mixture of different things. You know, it's convenience because I can get plenty of stuff down here. There's never a problem with me making, and I have, you know, all my little tools, even though they're not expensive, I have my food processor, my spiralizer, all that stuff, so I can make what I like down here, which I don't quite have that in the States. I'd have to work a little bit harder, and I'm lazy. So, I mean, I'm sure there's like different factors that kind of call me to be fully raw here. And I could, you know, hey, if I ever have to move back there and, you know, like help out, take care of my mom, and I'm going to be there for a long period of time, I would have to reevaluate this, and I'd just have to be less lazy. But the takeaway is like, you know, like I say, raw versus cooked food. Just try to eat clean. I would say try to eat clean as much more so than worrying about the cooked versus raw. You know, sometimes people want to stay raw so bad they use kind of like sketchy ingredients where it would probably just be better to cook something that was a simple whole food. Yeah, I don't know. I just that, like I say, this one isn't really leading to any hard conclusion other than the fact of just listen to your body. Oh, I did know one other thing I wanted to say though, that every time I do like to throw this in. Whereas I'm not going to preach the hard raw is law message, and I might come across sometime as just thinking, well, I think raw isn't all that important, which I do. I do want to stress this, and this is my opinion, what I would do for me, like this whole show. A lot of this show is not me saying, you need to do this, you need to do this, 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 and this. It's just kind of like, this is what I'm doing. Watch, see whatever results. If you don't like the results, you know, hey, don't do it. But, and that is why that, for me, I don't feel led to go there right now. I feel that, sorry for the disturbance there. Let's see if I can remember where I left off. Oh, I know what I was going to say. But the one thing I do want to stress about the fully raw is, and just for me, if I had a major illness, I would probably be a lot more hardcore on the raw. I'd probably be less likely to stray. I know people that have had autoimmune disorders and gut disorders that can be very sensitive to things other than the raw. I don't know, I hear of more healing of major disorders from the fully raw. I'd love to hear more about them, but I just hear, like, especially, you know, if I got cancer tomorrow, I'd probably be hardcore on a very strict regimen. Or if I had the autoimmune diseases or or something major, I'd probably lean a lot more towards the fully raw. I do think the fully raw is more healing. I think it's less taxing on your body. Your body's not using as much energy to utilize all its nutrients and utilize what you're taking in. But if I was sick, if not for just a normal healthy life, I would say dabble with it. You know, stop listening to all these people, or don't just jump on the bandwagon because you see the people talking about, woohoo, you know, another day off, like kind of in prison. I've been raw this many days, I've been raw this many years. You need to do it for yourself. And I would say that both ways. The people that are holding back from being fully raw, be fully raw for a while. At least know what you're talking about, you know, like fully raw may never be the thing for you, but I would say at least do what I do, you know, as far as like going a few months fully raw, just to be able to evaluate and see how your body feels fully raw versus cooked food, and then you have a comparison to know how much cooked food, you know, works in your diet or whatever. But in the end, it's about how clean we eat and how much good whole plant-based foods we're putting into our body. So anyhow, I hope you guys took a little something from that. I felt like this one got rambling, and I didn't think it was going to ramble, but anyhow, just me kind of like thinking out loud, you know, evaluating the last trip. Where am I at right now? Am I making any changes based on this? And no changes as of right now, other than just honing in on getting a more balance of all the different nutrients I need, the omega-3s, the plenty of protein, good sources of protein without the fake powders and supplements for protein. I don't supplement protein. But just honing in on a better version of what I'm doing now with no major changes. Anyhow, I hope you guys like this video. If you like it, give me a thumbs up. Hope you'll subscribe to the channel, and hope your week is going well. Peace.